What's up, Sky Kings and Queens? It is week 2. I am headed back up to Johnston County and Blue Line Aviation so that way I can continue on this journey. This week should be packed with flights. So I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, going to get 7 in, including some really important flights. Like tonight will be the first night flight at 8 p.m. I also have a setup to that at a 5 p.m. flight. Lots of multiple days with multiple flights, including things like emergency operations and a continued focus on takeoffs and landings, as those are some of the most critical phases that you go through in flight. Join me as we take to the air for one more week at Blue Line. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a really big week. Weather dependent right now. We'll get in 7 flights. Looks like Wednesday may be the biggest hurdle, as well as the weekend in the forecast. So we may have some precipitation and isolated thunderstorms rolling through Wednesday morning, afternoonish, which unfortunately is when I have 2 flights scheduled. So I'm going to sit down with my CFI, see if we can't get some things hammered out, as Friday looks really good, but I don't have any flights currently scheduled for Friday. So I don't know exactly how we'll handle all the movement around. This weekend looks even worse, as we've got some more isolated thunderstorms coming in both Saturday and Sunday is the current forecast. Those things always change, every few hours they can change, right? So we'll keep an eye on all of those things as we plan this out. Big week is ahead. Super excited to get started. Let's go ahead and get to Blue Line. So I made it back up to Blue Line, and now it's time for my 2 flights. Not sure exactly what my first lesson is going to be, as it could be either on emergency operations or it could just be on takeoff patterns and landings. I'm not really sure whether it's going to be lesson 6 or lesson 7. That'll just kind of depend, and I'll let you guys know after. We'll definitely do some night flying tonight. I know last week I didn't get any film while I was up in the air, but one of the main training advisors here made a statement early on that really stuck and resonated with me, and it was keep the main thing the main thing. And right now, my main thing is becoming the best pilot I could be. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense for me to try and get a whole lot of film of me flying while I'm just trying to learn to fly. So I promise this week I'll get you some. So I'm definitely going to get some film today. Definitely going to try and get some for you tonight, as night flying is just absolutely gorgeous to me anyways. I hope you guys find it just as beautiful. Catch up with you guys after, let you know exactly what we covered as soon as we get done with the flights. It is 11:15 at night, just wrapped up the night flights. It was awesome. Did takeoff and landings and go-arounds for my other lesson, which was a great lead-in. So I did 8 takeoff and landings, 1 go-around in that one, and then got to do 5 takeoff and landings at night. However, I'm absolutely exhausted at this point, but a good kind of exhausted. I do have a 9:15 in the morning. So I hope the video of the night flight came out as well as what it was at night, because it looked awesome up above. I hope I get to do a lot more night flying. I know I've got some more coming up, so I'm looking forward to it. See you guys in the morning. It's Tuesday morning and I just pulled up to Blue Line. It's about 7:45. My first flight is going to be at 9:45. So that gives me plenty of time, review some materials, do a little bit of chair flying so that way I get comfortable. Today is emergency ops, so that's a big deal. You want to be able to be competent whenever you have an emergency. So let's go ahead, jump right into the lesson. Unfortunately, looks like we had some ceilings roll in that were a little bit too low for us to really get up and do any maneuvering today, along with a little bit of extra gust of wind. Just made it below the minimums of what Blue Line actually likes. So scattered is actually the ceiling here at Blue Line. So normally whenever you're taking your written exams, you'll notice like overcast or broken or what's going to constitute a ceiling, but here at Blue Line it's going to be a scattered. So whatever that scattered is then becomes the ceiling. So because of that, we weren't able to get up, turned it into a ground, kind of went through what it's going to look like to solo a little bit. So we'll continue to see what's going to happen for tomorrow, although I'm not overly hopeful that I'll be able to get up tomorrow, seeing that today's weather seemed like it was a little bit better than what we could end up with tomorrow. So we'll just have to kind of see how the winds and the ceilings handle for the next couple of days here. I was able to get some additional flights scheduled for Thursday and Friday, so hopefully if things don't work out tomorrow, still be able to get up a little bit later on in the week. We'll just see how it goes. Wednesday morning, I've got 2 flight lessons scheduled today. So it's currently a little bit after 7. My first one's scheduled for 8, with another one being at 11:30. Not sure if we're going to get these in today or not. We've had some storms kind of starting to push through. Looks like they may stay to the south of us. Fingers crossed that they do. If I am able to get up, then we're going to go through a very important lesson of emergency procedures, which anybody who's been in an emergency can testify this may be the most important lesson that we go through. As well as my second lesson will be more takeoff, landings, and go-arounds, probably focusing a little bit more on some soft field and short field takeoffs, as most of my takeoff and landings have been majority under normal conditions. So let's see how the day goes. Just completed both of my flights today, and they didn't go perfectly, but they went pretty close to perfect. Had to kind of combine some lessons. The overcast was really low to start today, so we did a lot of pattern work to stay below that overcast. And then once it kind of warmed up today, clouds lifted, which did create some thermals, so keep that in mind as you're doing it. And then was able to complete my emergency Then I was able to complete my emergency operations and got into takeoff and landings and go-arounds again. So good day overall, getting caught back up. I need 3 more to kind of get myself back onto the pace that I'm looking at. I think I've got 2 scheduled right now with another 2 grounds, so not too far off. We'll just have to see how things hang this weekend. Maybe I can get 1 more in this weekend and kind of keep myself on track. One other thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing multiple flights in a day is your eating schedule. So for me, I'm fasting. I only eat at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter for me too much. But I had a flight at 8 and then another one that started up at 11:30 with about a 10 to 15 minute break. Just make sure that you've got time to eat, and don't let that fatigue get to you if you're in that situation as well. So we'll catch up with you tomorrow and we'll see how the pace works out. So last night's faith night is exactly what I needed. Some fellowship, some faith, and some food that really helped me recoup. Got to meet some new people, got to see helicopter land right there on the runway while we were eating. So it's a really cool environment to be able to continue to share our own aviation adventures as we see others on theirs as well. Today I've got 2 flights that are scheduled, one down to Harnett and back. Not really sure if we're going to get this one off or not. Right now it is looking like there's some low IFR conditions. Everything's kind of clear up high, but we'll just have to see if this weather will push off. It's currently 6:20. My flight isn't until about 8 o'clock, so we'll see if everything will move out of the way or not for us for the first one. It does look like it's clearing up in the afternoon, so I think I'll definitely get my second flight in. Also have some ground lessons to get done, so a packed day, and I'm ready to get after it. Let's go ahead and do it. So another great 2-flight day. This morning we had a bunch of radiation fog and no wind, so I really wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get it in this morning. My flight was supposed to be at 8. We pushed it all the way back till about, 10 o'clock or so before we actually were able to get out. Then when we get out, we're pre-flighting. I show you guys the maintenance team coming out. We had some oil issues with the gearbox and the regular oil for the engine. They get us all back and up and running. Those guys are the real heroes out here. Get us up, able to get up and do some pattern work and work on a lot of different takeoffs and things like that. A lot of different types of approaches. Worked some no flaps, worked short field, soft field, normal, worked some slips. I mean, you name it, did it today. And then got back up for my second flight and was able to do some different maneuver type work. So the S turns, power on, power off, steep turns, emergency descents, those type of things. So I am tired. However, still got some groundwork to do. So my groundwork, we're going to go through some cross-country planning. In private, you really have to do everything on paper. So taking my sectional chart, my plotter, my navigational logs, my manual E6B calculator, all those things that I'll need for my check ride to really be able to pass, taking those in, work through that tonight, and then can finally call it a night. But lots of good stuff learned. Definitely feel much more comfortable about like getting into ground effect, when to get into ground effect, how to ride out ground effect today. And it just takes time and rep to get some of this stuff. So super excited with where I'm at, excited to get through my cross country planning as we get prepped for tomorrow's flight, as well as hopefully Saturday morning, getting a flight in there as well. So catch you guys tomorrow. Today is Friday of week 2. Fairly light day today. I've got a wrap up of a ground lesson over some of the solo stuff that I'll be doing soon. That's gonna have some cross country planning kind of involved with it. So it's a little bit of a combination of the grounds that I've been working on this week. I also have one flight at 4 o'clock that should get me pretty close to being wrapped up with my first stage of private pilot. They have 3 different stages, and really the first stage is getting the maneuvers and doing a bunch of duels, and then the second stage is a lot of solos, and then the third stage is you like wrapping up and prepping for your check ride in some more duels like with the instructors. So should be a good time. I've got a new instructor that I'm going to work with today, so we'll see how that goes. This will be the 4th instructor that I've flown with over the 2 weeks. This will be flight 12, I think. So it's been a good mix of my primary, who I've gotten, I would say 75% of the time, and then some one-offs here or there as necessary. So I think they do a good job of managing that. As long as you're open and not dead set on having just your instructor, I think you can get up just as much as you want. That's a nice piece, that you're not just locked into that one instructor. So we'll see how this instructor is. And it's the same instructor that I think I'll have while my primary instructor goes on vacation. So should be a good test run and see if we're a good fit. And then if not, then that gives me a little bit of a buffer, as it'll be 2 weeks from now when my primary instructor is going on vacation. So should get a good sense of if this is going to be a good fit, or maybe I should request to see if I can't maybe fly with somebody else. So let's see how it works out today. So today was great. Got a lot of studying in beforehand, really kind of prepping myself through the things that I've already kind of been given as far as what I need to be studying and taking a look at and stuff like that. I feel like I got a lot of those things down. Ran through some pre-simulated tests, then took an actual test for my pre-solo, and only missed 1 question out of about 40. So I'll take that. That's a good rate for me. Now I got a chance to then transition over into identifying some more holes in my knowledge. I'd say this is probably the biggest challenge of all, is balancing what you're kind of studying and looking at. We've got all the different aircraft systems, so the aircraft itself, plus the cooling system, plus the fuel system, plus, you know, the basic operation systems. You have the avionics system. You need to know a bunch of different regulations that deal with both weather as well as eligibility and what you need to, in order to go. So there's just a million different areas that you kind of need to study. And so once you start focusing on one, you start gaining your knowledge there, but then it's time to transition and kind of look at something else and transition over and get that knowledge base then up. So it is challenging to kind of balance that out, but having these instructors come in and kind of quiz you through things and say, okay, well, you know this, well, what about that? Really helps solidify where you need to be going back and spending some time at night. The only thing I wish that we had that we currently don't is more of a concrete kind of study piece coming in, as far as here's the 20 things you need to know in week 1. Here's the 20 things you need to start building up in week 2. And it's probably more than 20, honestly, every week, because this is an accelerated program. But not having kind of a must know, would be nice to know, you know, you're excelling at a very high rate, if you know, kind of, you know, checklist to go through. So that's the only thing that's really missing, but you're kind of piecing that together personally as you're doing these kind of ground lessons and things like that. So tomorrow I do have one more mock evaluation before I do my actual evaluation before I get to solo. So fingers crossed that goes well. Today was kind of a prep actually for that one. So wrap some things up, and then on Monday do my solo evaluation, and then hopefully Tuesday get to solo. So quickly approaching on these things. It's been a lot of fun. I can't wait to get out there tomorrow and start working on my landings a little bit more. It is Saturday morning, about 8:15. I wanted to talk to you guys real quickly about practical knowledge and applying it. I've been immersing myself in aviation for about 2 months now. This is the end of week 2. I had my flight originally scheduled for 7 a.m. this morning, and I pushed it back to 10 a.m. because of what I've been studying and what I know about my area now. I looked at the weather and saw that we were going to have low-lying fog with calm winds. And when you're studying your weather, you'll see that radiation fog doesn't need a whole lot of wind, just a little bit to kind of push it out. But if it's not there, you're going to have to wait for the day to kind of start to heat up. Being May, it does heat up a little bit quicker than other months. Obviously, it's also one of the reasons why the fog is so intense, because clouds are clear, heat rises. Now we've got this inversion where we have colder temperatures at the surface, which causes the fog to happen. So in order to reverse that trend, the surface then has to heat up. So it takes a while for the sun to kind of get to it. So I went from a 7 a.m. flight to a 10 a.m. flight. And that's going to pay big dividends for me in a couple of ways. One, I'm actually going to be able to get up today. So if I had waited and just said, let's see what the weather does in the morning, and maybe I don't have an instructor or plane available now at that time slot, right? So that's a big deal. 2, I'm actually starting to use my knowledge for planning purposes, which is exactly what you're supposed to be doing with this knowledge. When you're studying aviation, you're also picking up a minor in meteorology. So you want to use this stuff that you're learning about weather to help you plan. I also see another front that's coming in, so I can expect turbulent conditions. So even though I'm going to be able to get up, I think at 10 a.m., it's also going to be turbulent. So if you're newer and you don't want to deal with the turbulence, today just may not be a day at all that you want to schedule a flight and really have your day planned out to focus on some of your groundwork. All those things are small pieces and nuggets that you need to start putting together as you're mastering your knowledge of aviation and what it means to be a pilot. So today I am wrapping up a few minor pieces, cleaning up some landings and a couple of other maneuver requirements that I need to get done. One of my landings today is a no flap landing. So those are pretty intense because without your flaps, you come in pretty low and pretty fast compared to the landings that you're used to. And you really hold on to that runway for a lot longer. So they're very interesting, and I enjoy every type of landing that we've done so far. So it'll be fun to continue to switch up the landings that I'm doing and continue to get better at feeling out those little pieces. So I'll catch up with you guys when I'm done with this flight, and we'll do our weekly recap. Before I get into my daily recap, I really wanted to just say thank you so much for all the support. Just crossed 500 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. Continuing to push for that 1,000 mark. So if you haven't already subscribed and you're watching this far into the video and you want to see more, subscribing is a great way to freely support me and this channel and our community and be a part of it. If you're liking the content I'm putting out, please hit that like button and then leave a comment below if you'd like to see some different things that I haven't been showing you in these weekly recaps. Then go ahead and leave me a comment as well. What would you like to see added to these videos? Is there some way that you think that I can improve? Or tell me a little bit about your journey. I'd love to know more. After having to sit around for a couple more hours at around noon, we were finally able to do a little bit of our pre-flight briefing and got up in the air for about 2 hours, mostly just takeoff and landings and pattern work for the most part. Worked a lot of different ones, only did a couple of normal landings, really working on soft field, short field, and short approach, which were all ones that are a little bit different. It's great to get that work in today and complete my lesson 11. So I have crushed my goals this week. That leads us right into that because I was one lesson behind. I'm now fully caught up, which is perfect because next week the weather does not look good at all. I'll be lucky if I can get up 2 days out of everything next week. So I may not be able to come home because it looks like maybe it'll clear up over the weekend, and maybe I can then make up my flights over the weekend if I can get an instructor to go up with me at that point. So this is just kind of the game you're going to have to play whenever you get into your lessons as well. Blue Line, they build in 2 weeks of, let's just say, downtime, or kind of buffer time is probably a better word, for your private. So they've got it scheduled out so you can complete it in 4 weeks. However, nobody really ever completes it in 4 weeks because you're going to need some of that buffer time because of weather and things like that. Time for the weekly recap. This week, I was able to get up in 8 different flights throughout the entire week, which was awesome. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get up that much or not, but being able to get up 8 times was great. Really felt my proficiency level increase as we went throughout the week, and I'm finally starting to grease some of these landings a little bit more, which is a really big deal. Whenever you're first starting out, you start losing a little bit of that fear of the ground and gaining some more confidence in yourself and your own abilities. So that was a really big deal this week. Over those 8 flights, I accumulated 15.9 hours. I got another 1.5 hours in IFR. I also got 1.7 hours of night flight. The night flight was so cool this week. I know next week, or during my solos, I have some more night flying that I'm supposed to do, so I'm excited for that. Got 5 night landings and 51 landings in total. So logbook totals 29.1 total hours in, so just short of 30 hours with 2 weeks in. That's pretty awesome, I think. 2.2 hours of simulated IFR, another 1.7 at night, with a total of 70 landings in now, with 5 of those being at night. So you can really see how this stuff starts to build up and really accumulate. That first week was a lot of just getting used to the plane, getting used to some pattern work. Not a ton of pattern work, but really getting used to controlling the plane, doing your maneuvers, your S-turns, your steep turns, turns around a point, all those kind of things. And then this week has been a lot more landings, as you can see. I mean, I did 51 landings this week, and that brings my total up to 70. So, I mean, a lot of landings this week. So the more that you get up there and you do this, the higher your proficiency will get, which is definitely showing for me. So I'm really excited where I'm currently at after 2 weeks. I didn't think I would be this comfortable at this point. Physically, I even feel better this week. Even though I've done more flying, I really do feel better physically than I did after week 1. Mentally, emotionally, I feel cleaner. You know, I don't know what to really contribute that to, except maybe a little bit more confidence in what I'm doing, even though I'm flying more. I think your body just starts to adjust. At least mine's starting to adjust this week a little bit more to what I'm asking it to do. So really happy with where I'm at, physically, mentally, emotionally clear, and excited about next week and ready to continue to push forward. Like I said, next week looks like it's going to bring some weather challenges, so that'll be a whole different piece that we'll get to navigate together. Next week is going to be filled with solos. Really looking forward to starting up some solos. I'm going to enjoy some time with my family over the weekend, continue to recharge those batteries. Hope you're all doing well. And as always, keep the grass off your wingtips.